Hello, it's Dr. Darnice. Welcome back into the Lifestyle Salon. And hey, I'm back on here talking about Black women in leadership and the overwhelming necessity for perfection for Black women in leadership. Again, we're looking at higher education. And if you saw my last video about Dr. Claudine Gay from Harvard University, you saw that I was talking about what the toll is on Black women. And so I got a lot of comments on that. Maybe you saw it, and if you did not, you can go there to that video and see all the comments. A lot of people disagreed with me, and they thought that it was racist for her to even be president of Harvard. She only got the job because she was black. I said, so black people don't belong in leadership at all? Black people don't belong in leadership at all. Okay, we're going to come back to that. Today we're talking about another case, another sad case actually. Dr. Antoinette Candia-Bailey, also known as Bonnie, from Lincoln University. And she, living with the pressure of her job, took her own life. That just happened a few days ago. So she was a senior VP at Lincoln University, and she was struggling under the weight of a lot of pressures there. And so she went to all the people she was supposed to in human resources, and her boss, who was the president, John Mosley, went to the board. She reached out to many people, many different constituencies of the university, and they did not hear her. She was basically silenced and ignored. And she was told, like, okay, well, we don't handle that here. We don't handle that here. And so she said she left us a lot of receipts. She left us a lot of documentation of the kind of mistreatment and bullying that she said she received from the president, again, John Mosley, who, by the way, used to be the basketball coach and now ends up as president of the university. I'm not sure where they do that at, but he's a white man, and so he is now president of this HBCU. Lincoln University is a historically black college university. And so it is very interesting that there's a white man in leadership there. I wonder who is calling him out for not being qualified as the basketball coach made into president. Mm. Mm. So there's that aspect. This case has many layers to it that we could talk about. That is one of the layers. And people who are now in this moment of pushing back against DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, I really wonder what it is you're pushing back against. We saw a focus on DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion in 2020 and since, right? We saw a lot of companies realize that they're still very much white and male at the top. And so they have taken it under their own, taking it up as a focus in their companies to make sure they're more diversified, DEI. And so wouldn't you know, some people are upset because companies have decided, yeah, we're still pretty much white and male at the top. We should probably focus on making our organizations more diversified. And so for those of you who are pushing back against DEI, I have to ask you, so does leadership always have to be white? That's legitimate leadership when it's all white, because when we have people who are not white, not male, then that isn't legitimate. So I'm not really sure what you're advocating for if you're against DEI. It seems like what you're for is all white leadership. I just want to be clear. I'm sure somebody will leave me comments. People like to leave me comments and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. I'm a woman with a bachelor's, master's, and PhD, and I teach in a university. So I do know what I'm talking about in terms of higher ed and the toll, the expectations put upon women in general in university life, and women of color in university life in particular. That's my that's my lane. That's my wheelhouse, and has been for more than 20 years now. So I'm not sure why there is overall a pushback against diversity, equity, and inclusion. Isn't this country about, oh, never mind. Okay, so Dr. Antoinette Candia-Bailey, also known as Bonnie, left us a breadcrumb trail. She said that she was harassed by her boss and the president, and that she felt bullied, and that her concerns were ignored. She was marginalized, and pretty much just ignored. Her concerns were ignored, and so we're not going to know exactly why for her it ended in the way it did, right? She took her own life. Many of us would say, why didn't she just quit that job? Yeah, I mean, if I knew, I would say, girl, just quit that job. It's just a job. It's not who you are. But as we know, for Black women, there can be so much riding on our shoulders and on our back, so that to say just quit can mean a lot of different things. And so, one of the things that Black women in this season are dealing with is the idea of rejecting the strong Black woman stereotype, because it is really death dealing. It really is an extreme amount of pressure put upon Black women to be all things and do all things, continually to be strong, and to carry the weight of a whole household, a whole community, a whole professional environment. Stacey Abrams, who helped Georgia turn from red to purple. I mean, there was just this inordinate amount of expectation for Black women to save democracy, even. I mean, that was even a meme in social media. Oh, Black women are going to save us. Do y'all remember that? It was a meme in social media in 2020. Black women are going to save us. Okay, so it's a thing. And if you're not familiar, then Google strong Black woman stereotype. Google that. There's also a study, which is kind of surprising to me. It's a scientific study on the Superwoman schema, right? You can just Google that too, Black Superwoman schema, where this study looks at the ways in which Black women suffer mostly physically, have a lot of different ailments physically and mentally, because of the inordinate amount of pressure that is applied to those of us who are expected to save everybody, to clean up other people's messes, to make everything right when things are not right, when things are broken, right? When the democracy is broken, okay, call in Black women, because they're your loyal Democrats. When the Black church is broken, call in the Black women so they'll clean that up, right? When Black women were on the plantation and cooking and cleaning, clean that up. And so it has just continued century after century, generation after generation, where Black women have an expectation, other people have an expectation that Black women are the cleanup crew. And so we're not allowed to just say, no, we need rest too. I mean, there's all kind of literature. There's books called Ain't I a Woman Too, right? A book called Ain't I a Woman Too from Sojourner Truth, who said, well, if women are supposed to be provided for and protected, she said this in the 19th century, right, when no one was looking out for the protection of Black women. She said, well, what about me as a Black woman? Ain't I a woman too? And this is why Black women talk about the intersection of being both Black and a woman, because it's a particular intersection where we get caught in the middle if we don't talk about our own experiences specifically. Are women supposed to be protected and provided for? As a man is supposed to provide and protect. Well, who does that for Black women? So, anyway, I obviously have this channel in support of Black women, but I'm doing this second video. I had no idea when I did the first video about Claudine Gay that there would be a part 2 of this nature. But, we're going to remember Dr. Antoinette Candia-Bailey. We're going to remember her, and we're going to have some compassion for what she was going through, and to know that she must have felt really desperate and in despair, if that's the route that she chose out of this. We're going to remember her, and we're going to follow through on those breadcrumb trails that she left us. The president of that university, president of Lincoln University, John Mosley, the students are calling for his resignation. because they say that he was a terrible president and that he let this happen under his watch and that he ignored this black woman in leadership under him in his workplace, and that she repeatedly made her concerns known, and he repeatedly bullied her and harassed her. And so the student body of Lincoln University are saying that they're calling for his resignation. And I pretty much expect that he will resign. There's kind of no way around this. Well, we'll see. Won't we? What might be the exception if he does not resign or be fired from his job? What would be the exception? So many women lately have had to resign their presidencies of various universities. Let's see if he stays in place. What might be the reason that he gets to stay in place when a woman who works for him under his watch actually died because she said he worsened the situation so much. So we're going to see how it plays out. It's just kind of, nowhere near the end because there's more to see in terms of the evidence that's going to be presented and what his choice is going to be. Former basketball coach become president of an HBCU. Isn't that interesting? That is really interesting, isn't it? Like, share, support, and give me some comments. I might not agree with your comments. It's not the point. We don't all agree in America, and what we need now, probably more than anything, is to have compassionate discourse with people who we don't agree with. So as long as you keep it respectful, then you can leave comments, right? Disrespectful ones, I'm just going to delete anyway. I don't need that negativity in my life. But if you have a point to make, then make your point as an adult. And if you're having a conversation with someone, and if I left something out or if I misunderstand you, then say this is what you misunderstood. That's the way we have compassionate conversation with each other, and we stop being quite so divided. It's like today the game is to see how divided we can be, and I don't think that doesn't help for any of us in who live together in this country. We really just can't keep doing this, being more and more divided. It's just not getting us anywhere. So point is, respectful comments, compassion. Let's try to have compassion and understanding for each other. How about that? That's also why I created this channel, right? Because I wanted a place for uplift, right? I wanted a place to talk about high vibrational things for us. All right. And again, if you're with me this long, I appreciate you being on here this long. I also have a online summit that's happening in February, the blackwomansuccesssummit.com, blackwomansuccesssummit.com. It is a free online event happening in February 8th through 10th. So I'll leave the link there and you can click through. So that's all for now, and I'll see you next time.